welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. With 4 race starts, we're going to start with our Category 4 riders, then 3, 2 and 1. Our riders lined up in yellow, that is our Category 1 riders. In green, our Category 2. In blue, Category 3. And Category 4 in red.
Well, we've got one rider just with a much steadier start, slowly working their way onto the back of the group. But take a look at this, absolutely out of the start pen, and it is not Ramos today. Jasin lights the fire in Category 1. Jasin pushes on at 7 watts per kilo here. He's sweeping round the bend on this downhill section and pushing hard to go away from this Category 1 pack.
It's not brittle, it's not survival. There's enough lumps and bumps to keep these riders on the toes. And it's not pancake flat. It's always changing. So that variation in terrain is really testing these riders out.
X100 leads the charge at 6.7, 6.8 watts per kilo. He is hunting Mare out front and bringing him back in, but he is also bringing the group behind him. 5.5 kilometers, an average gradient of 5.3% is deceptive because it will top 10, 11, 12%. And you know we've got some class riders in there.
This is the first look we get today at this technical finish over the top of the climb. The dip down and the run up is critical. It's going to be a run for the line. It's going to be race victory. First over the line will be Daniel Martinez Geraldo. Hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. It's July finals. Oh boy, it's gonna be a cracker today because we have just had what is essentially the same course in the women's race, and it was brilliant. What a finale, what a finish. No spoilers though from myself, Matt Payne, or from my co-host here, Emma Martin, because we want you to click on subscribe, go watch it on MyWhoosh live at MyWhoosh Cycling TV on Twitch Live. Twitch TV is the place to be. Place to be for us has been actually at lots of events this week. It's been brilliant to see a number of people who have been riding on MyWhoosh at those national crits in the UK, as well as catching up with what people have been doing on social media. And of course, this is the run up to the World Championships, where lots of those disciplines are going to be in Glasgow, and we know we're going to see a few of you up there. Before that, though, we have our finals to decide, because do you know what? It's been a cracking month. You've seen it on the rewinds. Emma, we have had brilliant racing, and this is a course that will test our riders with some of the steepest gradients.
Yeah, so 4 qualifying races throughout July, and we've had some phenomenal racing. Today, for the finals, we head to Australia, and it's the Wollongong course. Now, we've not been here for some time, so I am really looking forward to this today. 45 kilometres of racing, 704 metres of climbing, 3 Category 4 climbs for our men. It is the same climb. It is the climb of Mount Pleasant from Wollongong City. And, well, it is 1.9 kilometres in length with an average gradient of 5.1%, which doesn't sound particularly challenging until you look at the profile. It goes up, it drops down, it hits the valley, and then it goes up again. That first kicker will go to around 10%. The second kicker will go shy of 18. Yes, I said that, 18%. So it is a particularly steep climb, and the rest of the course is pretty rolling. There are not a large number of flat sections. So a constantly challenging course for our men today. And the finish flag, well, it's at the top of Mount Pleasant on the 3rd ascent.
What a course. What a finish. And we've got some amazing riders to take it on. In the teams, we've got the Askin team, we've got CM Team Colombians, and the DS team as well in Category 4. But if you thought that was good, that's not all. We've got the Red Furies, the Red Lions, the Owls, and the UNLI Right team. So we have a real big group of riders, all racing pretty much bar one rider in teams.
Well, yeah, and it's stacked today. 28 riders, 7 teams. I think it's going to be the Auskians, the Red Furies, the Red Lions, the UNLI Rice squad. I think basically. This is absolutely going to be a big, big race today. So, with 5 seconds left on the clock, the red jersey category 4 riders are in the start pen, but now they are away. They are away on the July final of the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. They are up, they are out of the pen. 28 riders qualifying for the final, getting verified rides, and it's Villada leading them out of the start pen, and boy, he is kicking hard. So at 5 watts per kilo, 5.9 watts per kilo, Ronald Villada absolutely wanting this race to start hard. And the stretch on the category 4 group doing damage already. We're seeing 1s and 2s drop off the back of this group as the stretch down the road absolutely crippling this pack out of the start pen.
He's absolutely mothering. I mean, we've seen Robert do this time and time again, along with Royal Villanda. We do see these riders in category 4 really go for it.
Yeah.
And it's been a characteristic for the last few months, really, that people do not want to let this go towards the end.
The group's been getting bigger and bigger. When we started category 4, you know, it was probably 12, 13 riders, 28 riders qualifying for the final. And let's remember, you've got to have had 2 verified rides to qualify for the final. So 28 riders in category 4 doing that. We've seen larger race fields within some of the individual qualifying races, but phenomenal number of riders, particularly in the men's race, joining MyWhoosh now. You know, the limits are absolutely there. We have 145 riders qualified this month for the final overall in the men's, regularly seeing 160, 170 riders on the Sunday Race Club for the qualifying rounds. It is so popular now. If you are not with us, you can still join us. And next week, with the first qualifier for August, is a fabulous time to join.
It is an amazing time to join, and our riders in category 4 are looking to really wind it up. We've got them coming in towards the first riser, the first test of their legs on the ascent as they come in. A little bit of a dip, a tight right hand move, and as they go on here, that gap is about 3 seconds between our 2 leaders and the group behind. Will they hold up? Where's the push going to come from first? I'm seeing 4, 5 watts per kilo coming from the group behind, and that is reflected in the catch being made on here. But we are seeing plenty of riders down into that red zone. 4, 5 watts per kilo as these riders kick up the climb. Remember, this is our base level. This is the standard level of a rider, and this is category 4. But I tell you something, the standard is incredibly high. Astorga here kicking on at 5 watts per kilo. He's got the gap, and John Back now has to respond to this. He's the rider who's bringing them back. John Back in that Red Lions team is looking to close this down onto Astorga at the moment. And remember, these teams are fighting for prizes. So Astorga ready for the DS team.
Well, John Back's heart rate nearly 190 within the first 3 minutes of this race. And it is, look at the length of that chain of red jerseys. You know, Matt, 13 different riders in this category in the top 5 for the qualifying rounds this month. So that's 20 top 5 positions in those 4 qualifiers going to 13 different riders. 4 different winners, a different winner in each qualifying race. Noack, Montoya, Kaluma and Giraldo have all taken wins this month. The strength and depth is just evident in this race field, and look what is happening today.
It is absolutely brutal out on the course in category 4. I tell you something, it's going to be setting the standard, which our category 3s are going to want to match or beat because they're all lined up ready to go. Category 3, our first step up the ladder in terms of teams. Well, we've got the Chasers Cycling Team, Colombian and Dian. We've got the Carrera Fortis Go Hard team, as well as many more, because it is a packed race field. Papa Colombiana Saddle Squad, Team Ballot in there as well. And this race field is joined also by Hugo Pineda, Ishmael Nogueira, Edwin Morego, Andres Gutierrez Castro. But in terms of teams, which is really important today, there are some incredibly strong teams, but it's hard to pick between them now.
It really is hard to pick between these category 3 teams because we've seen a lot of movement between category 3 and category 2 and category 4 and category 3. So lots of new riders in this category this month, but Colombian, Pulgarin, got to be strong. Dadson, Winfield, Tortoretto and Staples, that is a strong team as well.
It is indeed, though. So here we go. Category 3, our second category of 4 categories. It's time to kick, it's time to go, and away we go. This is time to hit the ground running, to get those wheels spinning at speed very fast. We saw how aggressive Category 4 were. Category 3 have got another big bunch, and the bigger the group, the faster it moves. Simple physics, super fast exit as we come out. We're at 35 down 40 kilometers an hour, so 25 miles an hour if you work in imperial measurements. This is going to be a brutal race. There is so little flat on this course. In fact, make the most of it, guys. This is it.
Well, a steadier start from our Category 3 riders. Just one rider off the back of the group at the moment, but pretty much steady, around 3 watts per kilo in this group. So not that fast flyer start we saw from the Category 4 pack, where it topped 5 watts per kilo. This settled down very, very quickly. So Montoya on the front around 3.6 watts per kilo. The rest of the group 2.6, 2.5. We're in with Mark Dadson at the moment now. Dadson, part and parcel of that Cura Fortis squad. Dadson, Winfield, Tortoretto and Staples. Staples has had a first and a second this month, so a strong team. We've also got the Go Hard team. Manella's had 2 fifths, part and parcel of that with Demanuan, Sabellas and Bala. But the saddle squad are also strong. Zanaska, Dromard, Pledger, Lloyd and Guarin. I really, really think this is going to be tight racing in this Category 3 pack today.
I think it is, and I think one of the key things here in Category 3 is we tend to see riders maybe with a little bit more experience, a little bit more time on the bike, getting that extra training. And I think the other thing is, because the Category 3 group is just, it's a little bit bigger race field, isn't it, Emma? It's not much, but every rider counts. It does mean that that draft effect works more. Now, draft effect is basically high behind the riders. The more you hide behind somebody, the less effort you have to do pushing through the wind. It's a really old analogy, and I'm sure plenty of people heard it before, but for those of you that are new, imagine driving along in your car, going down the highway, and you're traveling at what is 40 kilometers an hour, 25 miles an hour, and you put your hand out of the window. It gets blown backwards. It's that simple. You can feel the force of the wind on there. Hide it behind the mirror on the side of the door. Hide it behind there. Guess what? You don't get any wind. You don't.
Do you know, I
have to put
can see all
there.
of our riders and all of our viewers driving down
Next
the road.
time they're in the car.
Next time they're in the car with their hand out the.
Putting it behind the mirror.
Please do it as a passenger, not as a driver.
Don't do it as a driver. Do it as a passenger. However, it really makes a difference. Now, if you're going uphill, as we see Dexter Abello doing at the moment at 25 kilometers an hour, the draft effect is left. So that means if you put an attack in now, you are not fighting against the wind as much as you are using your power against the gravity. And that's where you can put that big kick in. That's why these riders are able to stretch it out here. Go on a downhill, that draft effect really goes. It's basically a square of the speed rather than a doubling of the speed. It makes a big difference. And look at that length of that group and the gaps that have opened up.
Yeah, it is Rodriguez who put in a huge kick at 9 watts per kilo to come past Abello, who'd already been pushing at 5.5 watts per kilo. The group behind coming along much steadier. They are indeed going to make the catch, I think, to Abello and Rodriguez. But they have not burnt the matches. They have not put in a sprint effort to ride away. The group coming back at a much, much steadier pace. You can see 4.3 watts per kilo. Montola, Dromard in there, Proust, Winfield, Barla, Staples, all coming back together shortly. 2 seconds at the moment, 1 second now. So it closing down on Abello and Rodriguez.
And the pack moving, using that draft, taking a turn on the front, then going to the back, the natural churn that happens when a rider goes out into the wind. When they reach the front, they're pushed to the side, they come back in, they drop back in behind the group, somebody else is taking that turn. That generates that speed, and on a downhill, that draft can save you masses and masses of energy. Just, if it's big, holding your hand out of the car at 25 miles an hour, 40 kph, imagine what it's like at 70 kilometers an hour plus, which is the speed our riders can do on the descents here. So in the descents, on the flat, being in a group is good. On the climbs, not so much advantage. It's still there, but it's not as big. One man who seems to not mind whether he's in the draft or not, Rodel Astorga on the front of Category 4, looking to keep this tough, looking to make it hard for that group behind, maybe looking for a solo breakaway. It can be done on this course, but boy, you're going to know about it
Yeah.
afterwards. You've got to be incredibly good.
You do indeed have to be incredibly strong to break away and stay away on this course. The gradient constantly changing, and Astorga is absolutely taking this race to them in Category 4 at the moment. 10 minutes now into the Category 4 race. Now, Category 4 starting 5 minutes before Category 3. Category 3 starting 10 minutes before Category 2. Category 2 starting 5 minutes before Category 1. So 20 minutes on the clock for Category 4 when our Category 1 riders start today.
And that is to allow us to cover as many of the groups as possible and get as much of our riders some airtime on the way through. It's really important to us that we highlight the amazing performances that are done, whether that's our Category 1 professional, our top flight riders who have got the world at their feet, or whether that is somebody who's just starting off maybe in Category 4. We want to show you off. We want to get you out there, and we want to know about you. So it's really important, please, guys, do get in touch. We'd love you to put us in your tags on social media. Tag us in there. Make sure that we know what you're getting up to on the way through, whether you're camping in the Alps, whether you are sitting in the best air-conditioned pain cave. Tell us what you've been up to, what you've been racing. If you've just done an epic explore of the mountains, of the deserts, we want to know that. So please do tag us in. It is at Biking Emma. On Instagram for Emma. It's at Matt Fix the Pain for me. And don't forget, make sure you tag in at MyWhoosh, because MyWhoosh, of course, across all of the social media as well. So at the moment, our riders who aren't riding, and it's always great to see the pictures of our riders suffering, it is Category 4 and 3. The riders in 2 and 1 are going to be waiting a little bit longer, and we will see them later on. But this way, hopefully, if the timing's right, we'll get all 4 finishes on the screen at the end of the race as well. Doesn't always work out like that, but we live in hope every race that we're going to be able to give you all some airtime. And if the more you tell us about yourself, better it is for us. We don't have to do our dodgy internet stalking trying to catch up with all of our riders. Emma's particularly good at it, I have to warn you.
Well, it is interesting, isn't it? Because we are looking at the 2 screens, and Category 4, strong riding today. 2.5 kilometers ahead of Category 3. The pace is high still in Category 4. The pack is smaller as well, isn't it? We've got 1 rider out front in Category 4, a huge group of riders in Category 3 at the moment, and Category 3 seeming much more content to tap out a rhythm and stay together.
And saying that, the commentators curse strikes. I think one
rider's just gone off the front.
Off the front Category 3. But this is it, isn't it? If it waits, if you wait and you wait, somebody snaps. Somebody goes, do you know what? Let's get on with this. Let's go. And this time it's Pablo Junior de Manuan who's on his way through. So de Manuan leading them just over the top there. And some of the riders will want to keep going, because a lot of the riders don't like to go back too far. You don't want to let the engine get cold. You don't want to drop that circulation, the oxygen uptake that you bring into your blood, because this is a course that has a really rolling profile. You can see we're on another big kicker here. 8%. It's not a categorized climb. Rodriguez pushing over the top. We saw him do this earlier on. He's a really strong run. He's pushing over here. It's going to go into a descent, another long rise, another drop. And all these changes provoke the riders into a move, but by keeping your heart rate high, it's easier to respond. Really interesting to see how our riders deal with that. Now, Rodriguez leading through the front of Category 3. The riders who will be chasing them are our Category 2 riders. They're in the green here. You can see we are in with Geraldo at the moment. Let's have a look at our teams. First of all, the Bibbiano team of Panalotti in there as well. We've got Team International, and the Hitmen are back to see if they can score a number 1 on the racing today. The Ventilators are here. I'm hoping that's referring to their air conditioning rather than what they're going to need at the end of this, because they've tried that hard. The Wolfpack are on the chase, as well as the Warriors of the Road and the inevitable UAE Falcons, which is great to have them here. The Falcons with Zed Hampton, the Wolfpack with Marvin and Garita. But in terms of teams with big numbers, Emma, you've got some favourites in here, surely. I know it's hard, but come on, off
It
the
is
fence.
hard, but I think it's the Hitman Team International and Panalati who are going to be the 3 teams to watch today. So the countdown continues. Our riders are ready. The legs are warmed up. And very shortly, they will be away out of the start pen for Category 2. This is the final of the July Sunday Race Club. Category 2 riders are away. They are out of the start pen and on to the course.
45 kilometres to cover, 704 metres of vertical ascent. It is essentially 3 ascents of Mount Wollongong, finishing at the top of the mountain. This is going to be a tough race today. There are so many opportunities to attack. There are very few opportunities to recover. Even on the downhills, we see lots of action on this course. It's a tough course, but it is our finals. It is the big day at the end of the month where our riders have the big prizes of the team as well as the individuals. And once we've got all of our riders underway, we'll start bringing you out the riders and the prize money, and we'll bring that prize money to you in a little while. Now, Henry Ois are leading this in with this leading group here. They're moving well at the moment and looking good as they go down the straight here. But again, another big pack, but we're not at that first ascent. And it seems to me like the riders in the group tend to try and use this straight section just to get into their rhythm. Just watching one rider, he kicked on there, sprinted off the front, and then eased off just to try and let the riders come back in. So I think Geraldo at the moment just having a bit of a kick, bit of an ease, bit of a kick, bit of an ease. Cam Winfield doing pretty much the same.
Yeah, so it is indeed Winfield on the front at the moment, pushing on here in Category 2. Cardenas, Chiller and Simmons are the riders watching the move and bringing the group back together. So the pack all together now after Winfield's little kick there. They are coming up to a steeper section at the end of this bridge. The rise really kicks. We'll see 7% as part and parcel of the end of this bridge. And if we're going to see this group stretch, it's going to be stretching there.
Here we go, on to this climb. You're starting to see the numbers go up. You're starting to see the red come in. Eben Schwartz at the moment is the rider leading them up here. So Schwartz at the moment on the climb, being chased by Krasnich. And Krasnich is putting 7 watts per kilo out here. But look at Schwartz, 10 watts per kilo.
Oh,
that
gosh.
is a massive kick over the top.
That's a sprint over the top from Schwartz. Oviedo, 6.1. Roccali, 7 watts per kilo behind. And that's just to ensure they are staying close. But look at the gap. You know, Schwartz put in 5 seconds on that group.
And he put that in about 150 metres.
Yeah.
That is a big kick, but it is a big result. And now that means that there's a response coming. Watch top right-hand side of your screen at the same time as watching the main screen. You can see that the group is rotating through. You can see the pressure is on because gaps are opening in the middle. The riders then all compress together. But this is a direct result of that kick off the front by Schwartz.
I tell you what, the riders in this pack are waiting for the hitmen to push on here and do the chasing, because Is, Spratt, Bjarhead and Simmons, that is such a strong squad, but they are absolutely adamant they are not doing the chasing. The second one of those gets on the front, the power comes right off and they move back into the pack. So trying to force another team of riders to do the chasing at the moment.
Well, let's see what happens in 2, 3 and 4. In a little while, let's turn our attentions to the riders in yellow. There are Category 1 riders. We've got a huge field of individuals as well as our teams. Let's bring you the teams first of all, the 10 teams. Belgian Waffles, the Donut Give Up, Italian Gelato, the Pisces Bike, the Pagaccia Fan Club. Love that one. I'm in there, should be. And they are the first of our 5 teams. They're joined, of course, by Team 4, Team G, the team from the P&P and Co, Team Pinchos, and, of course, the UAE Clan team, who have been the team to beat pretty much this round of the racing in July. However, Emma, they've not had it all their own way.
Well, they haven't had it all their own way, and last month, it was the Italian gelatos in too. This month, I think we're going to see some really strong chasing from the Belgian Waffles Italian Gelato, as well as the Podcart Fan Club, because it is going to be very close.
So will the Pikachu fan club be able to emulate their hero? Have they been doing the workouts on MyWhoosh? Here we go. Category 1, hit the road, away we go. This is it, time to show us you've been doing the training, that you have got that joie de vivre that turns the racing electric. Or are you going to be suffering on the way in and through to the finish? Are you not going to be having such a great time? We will see. Big split already in category 1 as they come out of the pens. You can see already being made hard as they come out, and we are seeing the splits in the group, and riders who weren't quite as on the ball, quite at maximum power, are struggling here. But we do need to remember, of course, not everybody in this final in category 1 will be staying there throughout next month.
No, indeed, some new riders joining, all riders who are joining for the first time this month. So, for example, Tom Breyer, individual rider today on the start sheets in the pack, has done 2 rides on the Sunday Race Club to give him the verification to be in the final, but they were his first 2 rides on the Sunday Race Club. So joining us for the first time this month. I'm sure next month he will be in a team and he will have that organised for the final. But it's great to see riders moving around. Von Haren coming up from category 2 this month into category 1, as well as some of the other riders, which gives us a real mix. Now, I think this is going to be such an interesting race. This month, Knudsen has won 2 races. Osborne has won 2 races. Osborne is not here today.
And we have to say massive congratulations to Jason Osborne, who was racing on the San Sebastian. I think it was 12th place, if I remember correctly. I'm doing that off memory, so don't quote me. But it was a performance. I'm sure it was 12th place, but he was absolutely on form. In the San Sebastian Classic, using a lot of the Basque roads that are used for the start of the Tour this year. And great to see Jason Osborne. He shows you the caliber of rider you need to be up and racing at the very front of the race and take wins on here. So let's see. Did I get it right, Emma?
No, you didn't.
Go on.
16th.
16th. That was my second guess. 16th place. Anyone who can ride San Sebastian full stop is amazing. Anyone who gets top 20 is amazing.
230 kilometres.
230k. That's a little bit further than 45k here on MyWhoosh. But we know Jason, of course, Olympics level rower, medalist in the Olympics in rowing, a MyWhoosh fan and a regular rider on here for a number of years. And with riders like Mr. X100 and Phil Graves, well, they are riders who are regularly with us and have been for years. Good to see some of our riders who are relatively new, Jakob Björklund is not going to be considered a newbie by any stretch of the imagination. He's a rider at the moment on the front, 8 watts per kilo, continuing to kick over the top now, 8.6, 8.9 watts per kilo. This is a big sustained effort. In fact, I've just seen him run right up to 9.3 watts per kilo. Now he shuts the throttles down a little bit and takes a little bit of a look to see who is with him, who is in that group. But boy, that first climb is very telling. And remember, this is the first time up it. We then go over the mountain, we drop down, come back past, go through there once again, we go over the mountain, go past this again, and then eventually we come up the mountain for the last time.
Well, the other rider who's not here today is indeed Michael Vink. So I think this is a race where everybody is going to think they have an opportunity with no Vink and no Osborne. Now, we've seen some great riders on really good form this month, Björklund being one of them, Van den Eckhout, another, Van Elst, Cutler, Van Diemen, Zanaska has been on form, Björklund, Hoyes is on form, as well as Knudsen, Popovic and SS took a top 5 this month as well. So we've got real strength and depth in this race field today, and no one other than perhaps Michael Knudsen, who the rest of the field are going to automatically assume are going to win.
Well, yes, and I think because we've not got our 2 regular Continental Pro winners in Vink and Osborne, I think it does give a little bit of hope to other people, a little bit of inspiration, a little bit of motivation to, do you know what? This could be a really good day to have a good day, because That's what they're going to need. I mean, we know Michael Nussen is an absolute class act on the bike, both riding in real life, riding on esports. He really is the rider who can put that out there. And I'll tell you something, he was very quick to respond when we saw that push and that attack over there. He was right up there in chasing Van Diemen. And Pim Van Diemen, a rider who we've said he's due a big win. But there's a lot of riders who could just take that big win. Now, 4 groups of riders on your road on the screens. The man who's already over the top of the mountain and on his way down is John Back, who has continued to extend his lead. He is leading over Brett McMurtry and a chasing group of riders back, though, at the top of the mountain and into that descent with a, are you ready for this, 45-second lead. So 45 seconds, nearly 3/4 of a minute lead for John Back in Category 4. In Category 3, you can see that they are on the second part of the climb. They've gone over the steep first part and they've gone into the dip. They've then gone up the even steeper ramp that kicks off the second part of the climb. And they are currently, well, it's 11.3k, so still chasing Category 3 group of leaders together, a small group of leaders, and they are well strung out. And then you can see Category 2, top right-hand side of your screen. They are the riders in that big group sweeping the way through. They're not yet at the climb. They are currently at 6.8k, so they've currently got about 3k to the base of the climb. And then you've got your Category 1 riders. In Category 1 at the moment, well, they're just about to hit 4 kilometers covered, and that means they've got about 5.7 to the base of the climb. Again, although it is fast, no big breakaways. So 4 very different sets of terrain facing the riders and distances on the course, 4 different levels of ability, and 4 different sets of prize funds, and they do ramp up. So 10,800 AED for the win in the team competition in Category 4 and 2,160 AED in the individual classification in Category 4. Now, Emma, I'm sure you can do some conversions for us, but give us an indication. 10,800 AED. What is that in something that people maybe who aren't working in AED in dirham would go for?
Well, £2,200 in UK pounds.
Sterling.
Sterling, there we go. That would be the right phrase to use. In US dollars, if I can actually get it to work. No, I can't get it to work at the moment. I'll come back to you on that one.
Thanks. Tell you what, let's look at the next category up. So, next category up, you can see 10,800 becomes second prize in that team competition. It's 18,000 for the win, 3,600 for the individual win, and teams have to be made up of 3 riders as a minimum, a maximum of 5, and it's the 3 fastest riders in your team's times that are added together, and the time differences are minimal regularly across all the categories. That's why we see such a big push from the riders to get into teams. And I tell you what, it's brilliant to see riders riding together and changing those tactics. So Category 3 more than Category 4, and Category 2, well, guess what? It steps up. The 18,000 AED goes from being first prize in the team competition to second prize. It's still 3,000 AED for 5th place, and it's 6,000 AED for the individual classification win.
Yeah, well, 30,000 AED is indeed just over 8,000 US dollars. So giving you a little bit of contention there in terms of, or should I say comparison there, in terms of different types of
currency.
That would be the word I was looking for. Do you know, sometimes I need to put my brain in gear. So Category 2, all the prize money equal between men and women. Category 1, lifting up that amount again. So 10,000 AED for the first prize in the individual classification. 50,000 AED.
50,000 AED for the first prize in the team competition. Remember, that's shared between the riders who are in and racing, who qualify for that, and that is a big amount of money. To give you an indication, 50,000 AED, are you ready for this, is 1,119,759.5 Indian rupees.
There you go.
There you are. So if you are working in rupees, there's your current, slightly different currency to run in. There you are. Something about the word currency today is clearly not working in our full
I know,
speed
you
event
see, that's it,
studios.
isn't it? It's something to do with the studio at the moment. It's just not going to allow us to use that word. Now, talking about using words, I'm going to use the words Jack Staples because he's the rider pushing on at the moment in this pack in Category 3. Now, Category 3 have started to catch the riders from Category 4, the earlier starting race category, because there is a red jersey mixed in with this group of Category 3 leaders. And as you can see, this Category 3 group strung out all over the road. And that's because they have gone up that first climb, they've gone up that first Category 4 climb, and they are now down the other side. And it's caused a bit of a split in the pack. Now, we've still got a very large group on the front, so not seeing any particularly strong attacks coming off the group on the climb. And on the descent, well, that has caused a small gap. And we've got Mark Dadson, Julian Areningo, and Luca Barla doing the chasing at the moment. They are 2 to 3 seconds behind. In fact, actually, that is looking like closer to 12 to 13 seconds at the moment because it is stretching on this downhill.
Pace on the downhill picks up. The aerodynamic games of being sat in a group come into play. Now, just a little bit further back on the course, in fact, sitting still of sub 7K, this is the Category 1 leaders. They've done what is a long, draggy climb. It's got a few dips and rises, but overall, it just raises up on the way through before we take the turn and we start dropping down. However, they're a long way off this group. 10K in, you can see on the first of the steps, you can see the flatlands in the distance below them, behind on the amazing graphics here on MyWhoosh. Category 2 on the climb. Daniel Cadiz winding it up all in red. Everybody is digging deep to stay with this group. There's this big push on the front. This is going to take some doing. Who is going to be able to hold on? Who is going to be the rider who is fighting to stay there, who's pushing so far in the red they can't recover? And remember, this is part 1 of the climb. Part 2 is steeper, it's longer, it's nastier, and not only that, it's where everybody knows that if you push over the top of that climb, you've got a good chance of putting a permanent gap and a breakaway in.
Well, I think we're going to see this group shed 1 or 2 riders, but the strength and depth of this race field in Category 2, I think we're going to see a group still together at the top of this climb. Now, let's remember, the riders go up this climb 3 times on this course. The first of those, 9.7 kilometers into the race. Obviously, this is the first ascent we are seeing in Category 2. Then at 26.3 kilometers, and then at 43.1 kilometers into the race. And they finish, indeed, the checkered flag is at the top of the climb on the 3rd time up it. Now, the group stretched over as they've come over the first part of the climb, and they've dropped down. They're now in the little flatlands between the 2 parts to this climb. You can see the road going skywards ahead, and boy, is it going to get steep under their wheels.
We're going to run up to 17.8% on this ascent here. It is a tough climb. Krasnich now starting to wind this up on the front here. He's out of the saddle. He's tapping at 70 or so revs per minute, but as the gradient kicks in, that's down. He's just using those gears, I think, just to modulate that. He's able to go out of the saddle. He's sitting there and he's putting the rest of the riders in trouble. It's a big group behind, but it is shedding riders. One by one, we are seeing riders being distanced, and this is where those riders who maybe have a big sprint are not able to stay with the leading group on the climb. They will then have to work harder on the descent, but as you can see, it's unrelenting. We might have come off the 18%, we're still at 14%, and it does mean that when you hit the 8% section, it feels much like hitting a flat section almost on the way through.
Oh, how can you say?
But it does, because it's so hard. Suddenly you're able to turn those pedals a little bit easier. You get a little bit more revs in there. You know, we're seeing Roncallia here revving up into the 80s as he's gone over the top. He's pushing through. So whilst we were seeing 60s and 70s in terms of revs, people were just revving a little bit more as they come into that slightly easier section. I'm not going to call it easy. My legs would be burning, screaming, and probably I wouldn't be able to have a microphone anywhere near me at that point in time, because it's just still incredibly tough. However, the riders who are approaching that, this is the pack in Category 1, and we are seeing them move on. They're about to catch Steven Munoz as they come in here. They're going to take the left-hand turn. We're at 9.3k. We're on our way into that climb. And at the moment, that's a big, big group.
It is indeed a huge group of Category 1 riders. Cutler is there, so is Theme, so is Quintero, SS, Graves, Montoya. Hoyas is in there, so is Michael Knudsen. Carlos Ospina is in there. Martin, Simon, Walter, Lucas, Zanaska. It is just stacked with riders today. Nobody distanced off the back that we would expect to see in this mix, and nobody poking their nose out front yet as Juan Hoyas comes to the front with SS at the start of this climb.
Now, I am expecting to see the favourites move up towards the front, and by the favourites, that's probably one of about 15 riders out of our huge field of riders here today. And those teams will be being careful not to get distance here. They know how easy it is to find a gap going, to find somebody lets the wheel go, you don't quite stay on it, and then you're in trouble. We're just riding in with Ross Fawcett at the moment, a rider who really has turned his sprint legs into climbing legs. And this is a climb where if you've got a good kick, you can use that to good effect. But at the moment, look at that group. We're seeing 1s and 2s coming off the back, but they are mobbing the front. All the big teams are trying to push up there. The UAE Clan team with Knudsen, Popovich, SS and Mr. X100 wanted to push riders right up into the mix. And you look at the team from Gelato, I mean, Van Diemen, Nair, and Zanaska, they are absolutely stacked full of talent.
They are.
But these riders are pushing hard, and the moment one rider comes off the front after having kicked and pushed, somebody else is instantly taking their place, and this is giving no rest to the riders behind.
Well, interesting to see Ross Fawcett in here as well. Now, Fawcett has been getting better and going really well recently. He's had a number of top 10 finishing positions. Kaminsky is in here too with Van Elst. Now, that is a strong team. So Kaminsky and Fawcett in the same team. Van Elst with Van den Eckhout, Martins and Vujassin, the Belgian Waffles. We know they are strong. As SS is the rider pushing on over the top of that first part of the climb. They are now on the descent. At my rough count, there are between 25 and 30 riders in this front group.
That is a massive group. That is not going to stay. Surely they can't afford to let that stay at that number. They will want to drop a few more riders out of the back. Now, they've carried the momentum down. It's a big pack. It's moving fast. They're going to hit the base of this climb. Still over 30 kilometers an hour. It's at 6.5%, going up to 7, going to 8, going to 9, going to 9.6, 10. It's 11. It's continuing to climb. It will hit 18% almost. It's 17.8 at max, but it is consistently hard. And this is the key moment. Push now, break some people off the back, and then accelerate away to get the gap reinforced as you go over into the 7-8% section. When it kicks again at the top, you can really break the riders. This is starting to get lined out a little bit more. 2-3 riders wide. The push is coming on the front, and look at the screen. It is red on that right hand side. Everybody is being put into the red zone, and it's a big kick up on the front. Just sitting at the back of the group, Mr. X100 holding the back of the group. Pim Van Diemen, who has been climbing like a demon, he's the man on the front.
Well, 4 riders looking like they're being distanced off the back at the moment, and we're starting to see the formation of potentially another split in the group as the strong riders come to the fore, consistently now pushing at 6 watts per kilo. We're seeing those gaps now start to form. Another rider falling off the back, and then another gap, and that gap now starting to form a front group. The front group still fairly big. I'm counting about 15 riders in that front group, so it looks like we've lost about 50% of the pack who went into the bottom of this climb together.
And that gap is being reinforced. So this is that push. This is where you put the gap in on the steep section. You then open it out. You then start to stretch the group out, and the gap opens. You push on here. The distance increases, the higher the speed for the same time gap. Now, Pablo Popovic is opening up the front of this race. Let's take a look. Is he going to be able to hold this? Well, Popovic is holding this, just watching that heart rate, watching the revs. He's looking good at the moment. But I'll tell you something, he is a rider who we know can go much harder than this. Pim van Diemen's coming across to get onto his wheel, is go over the top. Now, Pim van Diemen, I think, is there marking out Popovic. Van Diemen riding for the Gelato squad, saying, right, don't worry, UAE Clan team, you want to send one up the road? Well, we're going to put somebody with you. And it's going to be Van Diemen who's going to cross. Then it's going to be Vidal Mehmet, also riding for that Gelato squad. Then it's Phil Graves. Graves, interestingly, not going for his traditional from the gun attack and riding with Hoyos, Bjorklund and Dan on that Pogacar fan club.
Yeah, so Popovic in one, Van Diemen has brought everybody back together. It's a long, long line at the moment, but they are indeed all one group. We said around 15 riders. We'll try and make that a better count for you shortly, but around 15 riders in this leading group, 3 or 4 of them just slightly distanced off the back, all needing to push on now, because if they don't make the juncture to the group, they're going to be in danger later. The push coming, the concertina group, the stretch coming back together, all in one long line at the moment.
They are indeed. That pace really high, 70 kilometers an hour, so that's 40 miles an hour. Don't suggest you put your hand out of the car window at that speed. It'll get bashed back into the pillar pretty quickly. It's a very fast descent, and this is where you will see, if the gap opens, if you drop back too much, you will end up in trouble because the wind gets in between. It literally drops in the gap between you and the riders in front, and then you have to force your way back through this. So this is our leading group of riders. We have seen it split and reform, but the gradient has now eased. The speed has dropped to about 50 kilometers an hour, and that means that this group are no longer in one long line. They have reformed. They're steadily catching riders from category 2 as well, and now it's Tim Cutler who's squeezing on. 8 watts per kilo coming out of Tim Cutler. We know Tim Cutler is an attacking, swashbuckling rider who aims to go off the front to make it hard. We've seen him make the run in time and time again, and it's Cutler now who's starting to, I think, decide that do you know what? This could be an easy section. We don't want it to be too easy. Let's keep the pressure on. Let's keep everyone on their toes, and let's see who's with it, who's using this to recover. I mean, we see attacks in feed zones in Grand Tours. We see attacks when riders are taking a bottle or taking a drink, and there's limited options here. I mean, you might be indoors, you might be sat on your turbo train, you might have a whole desk around you, you might have a dedicated, you've got your bottle cages on, but you still got to be able to breathe and put the effort in whilst taking a drink or eating. So the downhills are often when the riders will choose to do that. But if somebody's going on the attack, you have to put that down pretty quick and go after them.
Well, I still haven't got over Cutler being a pirate. So Pirates of the Race Club next. Final, please, has got to be a team name I'm liking. So as we see, Bjorklund and the category 1 riders on the top left hand side of your screen coming up, well, just over 14.5 kilometers, 17.3k into their race is the leading group of category 2 riders, 21 coming up for 22 kilometers category 3, and at 23 kilometers it is indeed our lone leader in the category 4 race, back leading the race at the moment, and it looks like there is a group behind with Nowak, McMurtry and Decker, and I'm just taking a look. I think Carvajal is in there too. So one lone rider out front in category 4, the leader on the road at the moment.
He is indeed, and it's a great ride by John Back to stay clear. It's not being emulated by any of the other categories at the moment as we come into one of our key parts of the course. You're outside, and after the big climb, you drop down. We have this long sweeping left-hand turn where the road rises up above. And this is Vink corner, because this is where Vink regularly will attack, coming up over the top here. You go over that section. It's that little rise and bump, and it does put the pressure on the riders behind. The riders in front hit it some seconds in front. We have quite a long time for the front of the group to go over to the back of the group, and that 2-3 seconds from the front to the back is the difference between maybe being on the ascent and being on the descent on the other side. So as you're climbing at the back of the group, the guys at the front, they're already accelerating away on the descent, and they are starting to move away from you, and that is why everybody wants to be up near the front, but nobody wants to be on the front.
So at my count, that's 17 riders in that leading group in that Category 1 race field. We've been up and over Mount Pleasant, the first Category 4 climb today. We go up it twice more, but only over it once, because the checkered flag is at the third time up the climb today. Now, it was indeed 26, 27 riders who went into the base of that climb the first time. 17 riders now in the leading group. So we're seeing a push on the front at the moment, and that is Michael Knudsen. Now, that's a concerted effort at 9.7 watts per kilo. Knudsen pushed there, still at 8 watts per kilo. This is an attempt to break the group. Vujassin is the rider responding. Vujassin from the Belgian Waffles. Bjorkland pushing as well. So Bjorkland from the Podjagar fan club at the moment also doing some chasing. So Knudsen in one, Vujassin and X100 now marking that response, because whilst Knudsen is his teammate on the UAE Clan team, you don't want the Belgian Waffles going with them.
So yeah, really interesting. Two Belgium, one UAE Clan team goes up the road. Two Waffles chase, so another UAE Clan team rider goes up the road. And now we've got two UAE Clan team riders on the front. And this, I think, is well worth a bit of a squeeze
coming from
here.
behind, you know.
There is, but that's what they're doing. They're making everybody work now. They've got two riders together. They can take it in turns. It's not just one rider doing the work. They now are really turning up the screws on everybody else. Kaminsky now going to come across. And this is what happens when a dangerous move goes. Riders want to be there. You'll see one rider go, then another rider go, and another rider go. And eventually, what you can see happen is that there's more riders at the front who've got across than haven't. And when that critical mass happens, that's when you find riders really in trouble behind, because you've got a massively strong group of riders at the front who are strong enough to break away or bridge across, and the riders at the back haven't done that. They might not have the strength, and they are then out of that race. And this is why you're seeing riders really pushing to get through. They don't want to be caught the wrong side of this group. They don't want to be in what could be potentially ones and twos behind. They want the massive group of riders. And if we can see spring and clear a breakaway group of riders at this stage, at 17 kilometers into 45, this is going to make it for a very, very different final race.
This is dangerous now, Matt, because we've got three UAE Clan riders, Popovic, Knudsen and X100 in this leading group. The only rider with them, she says, I'm looking for Kaminsky. No, he's not there anymore. He didn't make it. So the leading group of three riders are three UAE Clan teammates. This is seriously dangerous. I think I want a big red siren going off in that pack behind. Because if someone does not push now and someone does not respond, it's bye-bye team prize, because the UAE Clan team would have won it.
They've got a response. They've elicited it out of the group. They are forcing people to chase hard. Tim Cutler's coming, Hoyers, Van Diemen, Vujassin, Bjorkland and Martins all want to be there. They've seen that. They've heard the alarm go. They know they've got to get across. And I'll tell you something, if they join and work together, this could put a number of the big teams in trouble. I'm just taking a look down those names coming across here, and I think the team who may well be missing out here could well be the team from the Belgian Waffles, because I'm not seeing enough of their riders up there. I'm not seeing enough riders really coming across on the Gelato squad either. Had the UAE team here played a blinder, look on the top right-hand side of your screen, those gaps are not coming back. They are going out, and there are big splits. If this does come back together, there is no way that is going to be the numbers that it had before. Everyone on the limit. The UAE Clan team playing a blinder. You've got to remember, they've got SS, who's now sat in the group behind going, I'm not
Well,
going
and
to
that's the
chase.
problem, isn't
See
it?
you later, boys.
Because the chasers come from 3 different riders in 3 different groups. Cutler from Do Not Give Up, Van Diemen from Italian Gelato, and Hoyas from the Fan Club. There is not the strength and depth of numbers in the teams. The UAE Clan team could walk away with this unless we see a huge push from behind now.
Well, look at this. They're using the draft from those second category riders that they're catching. Smart riding here. You can see who's got their racecraft, who's done their riding, who's been on tune-up Tuesdays, who has got this dialed. And you can see that they are continuing to push. X 100, Michael Nussum, Pablo Popovic are still the 3 leading riders. They are keeping the pressure up. There's no turning the burners down at the moment. They've got them engaged. They've got the afterburner kicking in. And they are just pushing. Look at this.
I'll tell you something, it's Hoyas and Cutler who are coming, and I think they're going to join them, you know, Matt. I think this may become a group of what was 3, now becoming 4, and potentially becoming 6 as Cutler and Van Diemen join them.
Well, this is a desperate race here today on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club finals, because we have seen a surprise attack coming pretty much over the top as we came around Vink Corner, and over the top we came off it, and it was the UAE Clan team who instigated the absolute carnage in the race, where they pulled the pin, they threw the grenade in the bush, they went off the front, and they attacked. It was Knudsen who first went. He was joined by Mr. X100. Pablo Popovic has come across. They have been joined by riders. They are limited riders, and they are 12 seconds now to the good as a minimum by my reckoning back. In fact, the screens at the moment are showing a lot more than...
Yeah, the race is off behind. It's done.
No way.
It's done. They've given up the chase. So, Knudsen, Popovic, Hoyas... In fact, Knudsen has gone again. So it's just all over the place. So Knudsen pushes again because Cutler, Hoyas and Van Diemen have joined the group. So Knudsen pushes again as soon as the juncture is made. Popovic in 2, Cutler in 3. But behind, well, they've just started to organise themselves. But this is over 30 seconds now back to this group.
So at the front, they've got to push. They've got to work together. This is a bold move by the UAE Clan team. They are working to try and go clear. If they take the 5, remember, this is a 45k race. We're not even at half race distance yet. Behind, there is a disorganisation. The group on the right-hand side, now coming onto the main screen, they are, I'm hesitant to call it chasers, because when you look at the numbers in terms of watts per kilo, it is not a concerted chase. They're across the road. If this was a drilled squad, they would be much more together. But one thing they are doing is they are starting to close down on riders in front. But at the moment, those riders are not necessarily the ones that they want. This, though, is also not a big group.
Well, they need to keep pushing and they need to keep the pace high on the front. They need to rotate it and they need to work together, regardless of what team they're on at the moment. Because if they don't, none of the teams stand a chance of cracking the UAE Clan team this week, because they just do not have the riders up front. So Popovic and Knudsen continuing to keep the pace high, continues to work at around 5 watts per kilo on the front. Hoyas, X100, Van Diemen and Cutler are in there as well. There's a gap back now. In fact, there's a gap back now to Cutler, Van Diemen, Hoyas and X100, because it's Knudsen and Popovic who have gone down the road.
So 2 riders down the road. Again, Knudsen and Popovic here. I'm not sure on these tactics why they're pushing so hard when there's such strong riders behind in Van Diemen and Cutler, and they're not going to challenge the riders. But they may have felt that, do you know what, they're just not going quick enough. They haven't got the pace, and they are not going to stay clear of the chasers if they wait for the group behind to come up. However, everybody knows now this is now really a case of think about what you want here. What tactics do you want out? This is making people think hard. Now, Belgian Waffles have got Martin's floating in and around the group. But I think for me, this is now decision time. They have to think very carefully about what they're going to do. How are they going to respond?
Well, it's 11 seconds back for that chase group in Category 1 as we drop in with Category 3. They are on the second ascent of Mount Pleasant here in Wollongong as they continue to push. It's still a good-sized group of Category 3 riders. They're working their way through the Category 4 riders. They're on the steepest part of the climb at 17.8%. It's Orego, Staples, Celebos, Winfield in here as well. They are the riders leading the charge at the moment.
They're leading the charge, but it's still a big group. They're going to need to drop a few more riders. Remember, this is the second of 3 ascents. They're on part 2, so the steepest section just going to start easing in a little while. They are chasing the riders in front, and the lead rider is still John Back on the right of your screen. But look at the difference in distance. It's 200 meters almost exactly from our leader on the road. That's John Back, and the chasing group behind. And it is so quick today, and the damage being done at the front of the racing, we are going to see riders getting lapped here by John Back because he really has pushed on. So he's set off behind, so he's catching them. They're going to be on their first lap. He's on his second. But boy, John Back has got the bit between his teeth. He is working well. And 200 meters doesn't sound very much. However, got to remember, we're on a climb. We're doing 15 kilometers an hour. So that is still a substantial time gap. Can he make it stick? We're going to come back to them in a minute. Back in with Category 1 again now. Back in with this, and look at the group. We saw a split. We saw a group go clear. This looks to be the chasing group here coming back together because we've got Cutler back in the fold. Van Diemen is back in the fold. Mr. X100 is back in the fold, but the leaders are on the left-hand side of your screen, and that gap at the moment, that is sitting about 250 meters, so a quarter of a K between our leading two and the chasers behind. And the leading two riders from the UAE Clan team, well, I'll tell you something, they didn't take getting a win for granted today. They have gone on an aggressive race tactics, and they are looking to take the rest of the team on. It's put the rest of the teams on the back foot. Look at the work being done on the left-hand side of your screen. They are working hard together. Knudsen and Popovich, right-hand side, they're back across the road again.
Well,
and every time they hesitate, Emma, this is surely playing into the hands of the leaders.
Well, and I think this is deliberate. I have to put my teeth back in. I think this is a deliberate tactic from the UAE Clan team. They've had X100, he was in the lead group as well, deliberately coming off the pace and dropping back. Popovich and Knudsen kicked on and attacked, but X100 sitting up meant that the riders with him sat up as well and just came off the pace because he wasn't working, and the group has come back together again, allowing Knudsen and Popovich to put a time gap in.
I agree entirely with that, and there is another reason as well. If you put 3 of your 4 riders in the front group working really hard now, and the rest of the riders come up to them, that is going to be really interesting.
Go on.
Here we go. So the 2 leaders going through, they've got the gap, as you said, Emma. However, the other reason to go back, if you put all your eggs in one basket and that basket doesn't work out, you're in trouble. You haven't got any eggs left. They've got their 2 key riders up the front. If they'd have put all 3 up there and it had gone wrong, all 3 have worked hard. As it is now, you've got your first card up the road, that is Knudsen and Popovich. You've got your next 2 cards to play, sitting in the bunch, taking an easier ride and not working. Now, really tactical and very aggressive in Category 1. It's also the same here in Category 3. Jack Staples and Mark Dadson have got the gap, 2 seconds on a big pack of riders behind who are coming up quick, but they are into the descent. Category 3 now coming up into the top 10. They've got all but 8 of the Category 4 riders in front. They're at 29 kilometers of racing covered, and at the moment I think this group is going to do a reformation, and then it's going to do an explosion again. I think that is quite simply because once this group comes together, it's then going to disintegrate.
A reformation or a reformation?
Could be both.
Well, could be indeed, couldn't it? As we're watching Jack Staples at the moment, Celebus has joined, so has Dadson. 3 riders now, very small gap back to another 3, and then another gap back to another 3. Winfield is in that chase group, leading the riders back. Well, that puts, at my count, Dadson, Winfield and Staples, all from the Carrera Fortis squad, in that leading group in the Category 3 race.
And that's going to be about 10 riders or so, isn't it? When they all come back together again, it's that kind of ballpark. If they all come back together, if they do manage to come together as one group. However, you can see the pressure is still on, those gaps still opening up. The riders are not 100% comfortable on this descent, I don't think. I think there's a few people who push so hard on the ascent, they haven't got it there when it's needed on the descent. And that leading group of Category 3 riders now catch Category 4 on a flat, slightly uphill, but it's basically a flatter section of course. Now, can the Category 4 riders use this to their advantage? We saw a big gap, and this is going to be really intriguing now. On the front, John back solo, got a massive gap. However, the chasers behind now can benefit by jumping in with Category 3. And the work that has been done by back is all coming back together again. Here he is. He's off the front. He got the gap. It's at what? 2 seconds now.
Yeah, so back in one, currently leading on the road at the moment, just over 30.5 kilometres into this 45k race. We've then got a chasing group which contains 4th, 5th, 6th, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th in that Category 4 race. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in that Category 3 race. So the front of the Category 3 race and the front of the Category 4 race all coming together now at the head of this race with around 14.1 kilometres to go.
So the riders are now at the lead of the race are our leaders in Category 3 in blue and the leaders in Category 4 in red. Those groups have come together. They are at the front of the race. The leaders in the last category to set off, they are the two riders from the UAE Clan team, Michael Knudsen, along with Pablo Popovic. They have got, are you ready for this? 1 minute. 1 minute.
Well, we said the pace had come off the chase group, and you can see the pace never came off of Popovic and Knudsen, still at 6 watts per kilo. The chase group, the front constantly changing and rotating. So we take a look on the right-hand screen at the leaders in the Category 2 race. They are on the climb as well, but they are a little bit further up the road, around 1 kilometre further up the road from Popovic and Knudsen.
And 1 kilometre doesn't sound much, but that is the difference between going up the first part, dropping back down, and going into the second part of the climb here and over the steepest section of the climb. That 17.8 section is already been conquered for the second time by Category 2 leaders here. Winfield is still in the mix here. Krasnich, Andreas in there. Roncalli, you've got Bjarhead in there. Chila in there. This is a real who's who of Category 2 racing, and there's nobody really unexpected in that group. Henry Ace in there as well. The teams in here in this mix will know that this is the place to continue to push now is going to help them. They are going to try and stay clear. They will definitely want to stay clear of the Category 1 riders until they're at least into the descent, because they could then jump in with them and use them to their advantage, as we've seen in Categories 3 and 4. But Category 1 now approaching the top of part 1 of climb number 2 here on the finals of the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. And at the moment here in the men's race, we are seeing a very aggressive, a brutal race here, because we are seeing that the UAE Clan team are really taking on the racing. They instigated a move, it went clear. I'm not sure they were expecting it to go clear by quite as much. Some great communication has seen them decide their tactics, push 2 men up the road in the shape of Popovic along with Knudsen, and this has meant that the rest of the riders need to chase. However, they've also got in here 2 more riders from the Clan team, and that means that any work they're doing is giving an easier ride to the riders who are left from Clan team. That's SS and Mr. X100. Now, onto the climb we go. Phil Graves now starting to think about winding this up. We're going to get a better time check as they come in together here onto the climb, and this is based on relative speed. Now, at the base of the climb, as these riders were going over the top and the leaders went into the downhill, it stretched out. And that is because the time gaps are calculated on relative speed. Now, that varies, obviously, if you're going downhill or down a 15% slope or up an 18% slope, that is going to vary. But the leaders are now going over the top of that steepest section. The time gaps are shown at about 15 seconds. We won't know what that's going to be accurately till both sets of riders, I think, are on the flat. But this is a big big move. But the chasing group, it's not all over yet. Zanaska is pushing it at the moment with Vujasin, Van Elst and Hoyos on his wheel. They could all climb. Van Diemen, Walter, Fawcett, Martins, all in that chasing group, all working hard as they start to make their way past Villander and Bruce. Montoya and Cadiz are going to see them coming very quickly up in their rearview mirror. Lucas Zanaska now is looking to bridge across this gap. He's looking when the distance is at its shortest, when the riders are on the steepest part of the climb, to bridge across to make the junction. Ross Fawcett is behind, he's chasing hard, and Popovic and Knudsen are responding to this. They can see what's happening behind. Most of the riders will ride with the live screen that they're watching for the race, and their race screen and the TV screen on Twitch TV with the race coverage on, so that they're getting the maximum information. The more information you get, the better you can do. The more information, you're going to get a better decision. How to attack, where to attack, what is everybody else doing.
Fantastic pushing and riding at the moment from Zanaska, Kaminsky, Mayer, Van den Eckhout, Cutler, all in there behind. Ross Fawcett as well, chasing and pushing. But it's Lucas Zanaska that is doing most of the work at the moment, closing down the two riders up ahead. Popovic and Knudsen continuing to push on this climb. Very, very shortly, they are going to see the top of the climb. Zanaska's got the gap down to 11 seconds, but it's not going to be enough as Popovic and Knudsen go over the top. The gap is going to stretch as they start to go down. There's a small kicker on the way, and it's going to be interesting to see when they get to the bottom of this climb how far away Zanaska is. Definitely in no man's land at the moment, because Zanaska's got a gap back to Vujasin and the rest of the group.
He has, but it's only 5 seconds, so whilst he's on that descent, I think that bigger group with the better dynamics, a better aerodynamic advantage of working together, should be able to bring Zanaska back. His gap rolling around 9 seconds now. It'll yo-yo as they come over the top of this. Expect to see the pace go back up from Zanaska. He's pushing hard though. He's at 7.5, 8 watts per kilo, but we are seeing numbers of 8s and 9s coming out of the group behind as well. And you can see them in the distance, and they can see him in front. They've got their quarry in their sights. Now, really interested to see that we've got Mayer up on the front here. He's holding a station. He's trying to disrupt that chase because his teammate Zanaska is down the road. He'll be trying to get a free lift with the rest of the riders using their aerodynamic dragger to hold him in position. This group is fractured somewhat.
The pace has come right off this group, you know.
Yeah, they see Zanaska though, can't they?
They can, but the pace has really come off. You know, occasionally we see someone push, but Zanaska is continuing to push at the moment. So Zanaska continues to push, but it depends on who is rotating on the front as to whom is doing the chasing. But pushing on at the moment is definitely Pablo Popovic and Michael Knudsen, the two teammates from the UAE Clan squad. They are 20 seconds down the road from Zanaska and 25 seconds down the road from the chasing group.
Well, I thought it was really interesting when we came over the top. I saw 2-3 watts per kilo coming out of them for a little bit. They just took a little bit of a breather. They clearly pushed hard over the top of the climb on the second descent to stay clear despite that concerted chase behind, despite the move to bridge across from Zanaska. They're back out with the gap currently sitting at about 14 seconds. When all the groups are on the flat, we'll get a better indication of what that is. But you can see Knudsen and Popovic using the riders out there now. Bert Kane, a rider who really excelled in the MyWhoosh Championship, just sitting with them. He's used to doing a lot of riding on MyWhoosh, and it's great to see him continue to race into the Sunday Race Club. But Burke and Khan KM, both very strong riders, and great to see them in action here today and riding really smart here, using the draft, using the pace of the riders to bring them through. And that is also going to benefit the two riders in here from the UAE Clan team, because they're going to get a little bit of assistance.
Well, the pace has come off a little bit. You can see 3 watts per kilo off of Knudsen sat on Popovic's wheel. Popovic now no longer doing 6, now doing 4s, just ticking up to 5 as they continue to push on. Coming off this descent into a little bit of a kicker and just utilising this corner to put the power down a little. So KN sitting in with Popovic and Knudsen, 17 seconds back to Zanaska, and Zanaska looking like he's got around 5 or 6 seconds on the chasing group. So Zanaska still a lone rider hanging off of this chase group as we see Vujasin now kick. Vujasin now coming alight. Now they've got to the bottom of this descent, wanting to bridge that gap to Zanaska, who's 5 seconds down the road. And hopefully, I'm hoping, particularly for our viewers today, wanting to bridge the gap to Popovic and Knudsen and really continue to light this race up.
Well, it's absolutely all go in the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club finals here in July. Ross Fawcett now pushing on the front, 7.5 watts per kilo. He's got Zanaska right in his sights. He's the rider just in front. They're working hard in category 1 to bring this back together. They're going to hit the Vink spiral on the Vink overpass. So you can see the bridge above. They're going to be ascending up over at the moment. They're on the left-hand side of your screen, going over the top of the bridge. Go the race leaders in category 1, Knudsen and Popovic. And I'll tell you something, Knudsen and Popovic are absolutely on the limit. They are pushing hard because they are getting gaps going in between them. And this group's coming back, isn't it,
This push
Emma?
coming from behind is absolutely huge at the moment. Vujasin, Nair, Kaminsky, Fawcett pushing on as well and taking a turn. The gap at about 20 seconds at the moment, but Kayan is staying with Knudsen and Popovic, which tells you the pace that they're riding at the front. Fawcett backing off a bit. I think they need to push, not back off, if they really want to bring this back, because I think there's a possibility that they could.
Well, let's see what's going to happen. I'm just taking a little look through here for the next riders in the UAE Clan team. That's going to be Mr. X100, who's in this group. So they've got the 2 leaders and a rider in here. It's 3 riders count for the team competition. And Emma, I don't know if you've had a chance to actually work out who is in this group in any of the other teams in with the chance of that team prize, because if you're not in this group, if you don't have 3 riders in here or further in front, you're going to be in trouble, as we see the 2 leaders at the moment towing the whole group of category 2 riders behind. They're going to want some assistance, and this could help them out here. They get the advantage of this group in the second category group continuing to push, but they really do need to push, because it's very easy to think, oh, we're going quick, we're leading this group of second categories through. But this also could be playing into the hands of the riders behind, because actually they're not going as fast as they think they are. But that group were benefiting there, Avedo, Oya and Smythe, trying to get back to the leaders in category 2. They're on the left-hand side of your screen. They've already gone past the pens. They've gone around the turns, and they're about to hit that climb once again. And so leaders in category 2 being chased by riders trying to stay with the leaders in category 1.
Well, talking about the category 1 race, I think there's races within races going on here, because whilst Popovic and Knudsen are out front, X100, their teammate from the UAE Clan team, has got to ensure he stays in that chase group and is towards the front of that chase group at the finish, because the 4th counter in the UAE Clan team, SS, is already 30 seconds back on that group. Now, in that chase group, Cutler, Kaminsky, Fawcett, that's 3 riders from Do Not Give Up. Vujasin's Van den Eckhout, Van Elst. Well, that's 3 riders from Belgium. Waffles, so it is going to be absolutely key. Italian Gelato are in there as well. With 3 riders. So it is going to be absolutely key that either Knudsen and Popovic have got to put on and put a big time gap in if X100 doesn't stay at the front of that group. But X100, I think, is able to do that. So it is still really interesting. Even if Knudsen and Popovic stay away, it is going to be all to play for, definitely for second place, if not for first.
Yep, so Mr. X100 just riding this very smart at the back of that group as the front of this group gets all active again, as Mayer goes, Van Els goes, and there will be a point at which the teams start thinking about, well, we could take the win here for that race for second place, and we're going to concentrate on taking a good solid second place rather than expending energy on first, and we are going to save our energy for the final climb. And all the time they're doing that, they are giving away time to the 2 who are working hard solo off the front in that breakaway. So really interesting dynamics going on. Remember, the team's able to talk to each other on the app. No need to bring in a third-party app or have your phones connected to anything else. It's all done within the game. That is meaning that the teams can communicate, and that's true whether you're in category 1, 2, 3, or 4. As we see Henry Ice on his way through here. Ice, of course, in the Hitmen squad with Sprat, with Bjarhead and Simmons. It's going to be very interesting. You've got Simmons and Ice basically side by side there, just as they came through that group. It's a big pack of riders in there. Krasnich in there as well. Sheila in there on Carly. Cam Winfield in here. And they are working hard, but they are not going to be long. I think they're going to see Category 1 leaders coming pretty quickly. They've just caught up actually with Oya at the moment, who's looking to do a little bit of a turn there. He pushed on the front, but Popovic and Knudsen are lifting the pace, and they are continuing to push. But I don't think they're all in yet.
Well, just under 10 kilometres of racing to go for the Category 1 riders. They are about a kilometre behind the leaders in the Category 2 race. Behind Popovic and Knudsen is a group of Category 2 riders desperately trying to take a toe, but there's no way they can stay with Popovic and Knudsen. These two riders are on fire. 6 watts per kilo from Popovic at the moment, 7.2 from Knudsen. Absolutely wanting to be glued to each other wheel. Knudsen taking the turn on the front as Popovic drops in second wheel. On the left-hand side of your screen, these are the leaders on the road in this race, and you can see they are coming up for 5 kilometres to go. So around 4k down the road from the Category 1 riders. They are coming up to the next climb. So at 40 kilometres shortly they will be seeing. They are going to be 3.1k shy of the final start of the Mount Pleasant climb. Now, 1.9 kilometres in length, an average gradient of 5.1%, but we know it tops out at 17.8%, Matt, and that checkered flag is going to be at the top. If you are in this leading group, the leading group on the road, Category 3, Category 4 leaders, what's your tactics for that final climb? Because that's surely going to be the decider.
It's going to depend on what type of rider you are. If you are a climber, you are going to want to use and utilize those really steep slopes that are long and keep on going. If you are a sprinter, if you are a rider who can kick and power, you are going to want to try and break it up as much as possible going in there. And time is running out. There are a few bumps on the way in, but it could well be hold on for survival, hope it comes to a sprint, and hope it goes in there. And in some ways, when you're going on that climb, sit and use as little energy as possible, save as much as you can for the very end, but use that sprint. You've got sprint power. If you can kick it 11, 12, 15, 20 watts per kilo, whatever that is, you've got to use that wisely. Now, our sprinters can recover. The other thing that they can remember to do is to use that kick on both stages of this climb. There's effectively 3 points, I think, where you can kick and recover on here. In the part 1, the start of part 2, and at the top of part 2. And if you can sprint and recover that quickly, you're going to be able to do that. Let's show you that on the course profile. So if you're a sprinter coming into this final climb, there's a rule of key points. Work really hard to stay and sprint over the top of the first part. That's the little spike that runs at that just over the K at the 45k to go part. Sit in through and then kick again on the base of the second part of the climb, but then the very top part, you can just see it tapering away at the end of the race. That final kick, if you've got a sprint, put it in there. If you can see what you're doing as you cross that line, if you don't fall off your bike at the end of it, you have not gone hard enough. You should be feeling like the end of the world is nigh, that it is the end of days and days. That is the moment that you have reached, because if you haven't, you've got something left, and you could have used that, and that could be the difference. But sprinters can usually kick and recover. If you're a climber, though, you're going to be looking to really make it tell on those steep sections as well. It's going to be really interesting battle in all of our categories. Now, back with Category 1 here. They are a little bit further out. They're at 37.1. And as you can see, we've got a lot of rolling terrain here. Vidal Mare, 6.5 watts per kilo. Now, this would not normally be considered fast. However, that group behind are looking at each other.
They are.
They need to stop drinking the coffee, thinking about each other, daydreaming, whatever they're doing at the minute. Time's up, guys. You've got to move, and you've got to move now. You are losing this race at the moment because it might only be 500 meters on the road, but Popovic and Knudsen are giving it a fantastically strong effort, and they are holding the pace. Have they gone too soon? Only one way we're going to find out. That will be at the end of the race. And we're seeing Matt here. He's trying to get across.
He needs some help.
He's going to need some help. He has got Van Elster. Kaminsky is with him as well. They are just stretching this out. But every time you see riders go down the road, you see a chase come from the other teams behind.
Well,
this is not organised chase.
They're not working
it's
together either. So, the second mare is on the front there, 5 watts per kilo. Kaminsky 2.2 X100, never going to do any chasing because it's his teammates who are down the road. So Nair now picking it up at 7 watts per kilo. Cutler's in there as well. These riders need to really push. They need to really work together to try and break this group, because for some of these riders are just not going to help.
That's it, and they're going to be getting a free ride to the finish. But having said that, the riders in there know their strengths. So, I mean, if you race on MyWhoosh on Sunday Race Club any time in the last, I don't know how many years, you'll know riders like Phil Graves, like Mr. X100, the riders who are there week in, week out, absolutely giving it everything. You'll know your strengths and weaknesses compared to theirs. You'll know where you need to push. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing some really regular riders on here. Great to see. I mean, stars like Lucas and Nasca, Vidal Mer, Zach Nair, who are time and time again showing us they are the best riders in the world on esports riding. They are here. They are racing up against the regular riders, and they have become regulars as well. And that is showing in how they know how to play and race on the platform. The gap is there. Could be interesting to me to see what do Popovic and Knudsen do now. They are the riders, I think, now at risk. This is make or break for them. Can they take the gap into the climb? They're going to have to keep an eye on their rear view mirrors. Never mind putting your hand behind it. You need to be looking in it now and judging that gap. How much have they got left? If they've gone too hard and they blow, they won't be winning this. They will be losing this race for that UAE Clan team. They may go out in a blaze of glory by giving it everything, but big gamble. Really interesting to see that race attack.
Well, Nelson and Popovic working their way through now the rest of the race fields who started in front of them. Just a reminder, our Category 4 race field started 20 minutes in front of our Category 1 riders. Category 3, 15 minutes, and Category 2, 5 minutes in front of those riders. So the Category 1 riders in those yellow jerseys, they were the last race field to start as Popovic and Knudsen continue to work their way through, coming up for the 40-kilometre mark. Now at 43.2 kilometres, they are on that final climb. It's the lower slopes, and on the left-hand side of your screen, that is the front of the Category 3 race that has caught the front of the Category 4 race. That large pack of riders is about to go skywards, and I think it's about to be decimated.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. This is where we expect to see the Category 3 use their better power to weight ratio, the better strength, the better speed, the better endurance. That means they've moved into 3 above 4 to their advantage, because this is part of that set. But you can see where the road's leveling out in front, and the pace can't be that hot because you've got riders in Category 4 able to stay with them. Nobody has stretched this out. I think here, Emma, they might be squeezing, but they're not squeezing hard enough. We're not seeing massive groups going off the back. We're seeing stables just squeezing. They are gambling and leaving it to the last part of the very last climb.
Well, it's exceptionally steep, the latter stages of this climb. They're going to go up and over the top. The first kicker, they're going to drop down the other side into the valley bottom, and then it's going to kick again, and it will kick up to 17.8%, and that's where our climbers are going to come into their own as Jack Staples from Category 3 leads them through and into this descent. Celebus is there as well, so is Esteban, and it is Valles from Category 4 with McMurty, who is leading that Category 4 race.
So Category 4 and Category 3 leaders back all together again as Staples gets washed away on that descent and round the turn. They are coming into the climb. He's managed to recover. He's picked himself back up again. The wake hasn't wiped him out, and he's going to try and push on here, but it's Manella who's going to lead them onto the slopes. 10%. Watch the numbers, top right-hand side of your screen increase. Watch these riders really feel the effects. 181 beats per minute is the heart rate of Manella. All these riders, though, heading in to their absolute limit. They know there's not long left. We have got 2.8k to go to the summit of this climb. This is all about, sorry, it's not, it's 800 meters to the summit.
It's 800
my
meters.
maths is terrible.
Don't give them an extra 2k, I tell you that.
No, definitely not. Sorry, 800 meters to the top of this climb, but this is going to feel like 2.8k up this climb. It's so long. They are absolutely giving it everything. They're in the red here, and it's Manella who is continuing to lead them. Celebes is in there. Guarin is right in the mix. Gutierrez is in this. This is going to be about who can hold on the longest over and into the easing, and that's where we're about to hit. That's where the gaps will open. You've got to push into that sort of 7-8% section and see who you've left behind.
Well, as Manella continues to push, Celebes is there, Staples is there as well, Guarin and Gutierrez. This is not over yet. Valles is there in the Category 4 race. So is Winfield in this Category 3 race. These riders continuing to push up this climb as the kilometres tick down. 500 metres they are coming up onto to go before they see that checkered flag at the top of this climb. So Manella in 1, Celebes in 2, Esteban in 3, Guarin in 4, Gutierrez in 5, Staples now being distanced as he pushes back onto the wheels of the riders in front. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 riders still in contention here in Category 3.
Well, let's see who's going to get this, who's going to be able to push. It's lined out, but I don't think anybody is out of the running as Ceballos goes in. So Ceballos really pushing. He's got the lead. 2 seconds at the moment back to Carlos Esteban Pulgarin. He's the rider chasing there. He's also got Carlos Alberto Aran Arroyo behind as well. But this is about getting timing right now. There's not going to, you're not going to make the difference by being the strongest. You're going to make the difference by being the smartest and the strongest now, because you've got to get your timing right now. Arroyo's got pushing here. He's gone early. He's at 9.5 watts per kilo. The line is going to come around the corner, and it starts to level pretty quickly. Has he done enough? It's looking like it's stretching. I think he may well have done this. He's caught them napping here, and he's got off the front. He's able to hold it, and nobody's responding with enough watts to make this. Today's win is going to go to Carlos Arayev as he go in and through. What a ride. Your race winner here at Race 1 in Category 3. Carlos takes the win. Andrea Manella comes through. He's going to be the last of our prize winners in 5th place, as all the rest of the riders fight it out for the minor positions. Category 3, leaving it all on those final slopes. What a race. And remember, Category 3 are on the way, and it could well be it's Jose Velez who's going to make this, I think, here, Emma. He's got the gap on Cavajo, who is behind him. It's going to be a race finisher in the category, and it's going to be, I think, a win here for Jose Velez. He takes the win in Category 4.
Well, he does indeed. So Arayev from Staples, Guarin, Celebes, Manella and Winfield, Bulgarin, Gutierrez, Dadson and Rodriguez. Top 10 in Category 3. Jose Valles taking the win in Category 4 from Carvajo. This is Category 2. They have got 750 metres or just slightly more to go at the moment, as Kranich leads them up the second part of this climb.
So Chiller, Kranich, Roncalli, Andres, Winfield, Ace. It's a big pack of riders. There's more than that. Those are the ones we can see on our screens at the moment. They are on to the steepest section. They're going to go over that and in to the slight easing, but immediately behind them come the 2 leaders in Category 1. Knudsen and Popovic have the gap still as they come around this left-hand turn. They are going to hit those 17-18% slopes as well. They're going to be at the same point, basically, only just behind the leaders in Category 2. So the Category 2 and 1 leaders are on that steeper section at the base of Part 2 of the climb. And at the moment, I can't see the rest of that race field in Category 1 behind them.
Well, it's Popovic from Knudsen pushing on as Popovic goes past David Milano, one of our Category 4 riders. In fact, he's gone past Andres Londono as well, and Adriana Zanaska. He's continuing to pass the riders in Category 3 and Category 4 and chase the Category 2 leaders.
Well, here we go. Popovic on the way up here. He's going to push. Will he be able to close down on Category 2 and use what little draft he's going to get on this time? He's getting plenty from those other riders, but he's not going to ease until he sees the top of the summit. We know Pablo Popovic has got a phenomenal kick. He's brilliant at using the momentum. He did that on the descent, the run round and onto the climb. He's not known as Momentum Master for nothing, but I tell you something, he is working very hard here. He's going to lead the UAE Clan team up onto the upper slopes. The gradient has eased a little, but he's coming on strong.
Well, he may be a lone leader in Category 1, but on the left-hand side of your screen, we've still got 7 riders, 8 riders in the mix in this Category 2 race. They are still in a large pack, and they are coming up for 250 metres to go. Andres Roncalli, Yus, Chila, Winfield, Kranich are all in the mix here. This is anybody's race. So as they continue to push up this climb, very shortly they are going to see the finish line. Yus goes at 8 watts per kilo. Cam Winfield, the young rider, now kicking at 10. Andres responding at 11. Chila kicking as well. Andres goes to 12. Winfield continues to push. These 3 riders neck and neck as they swing round the corner to the finish line. Chila, Andres, Winfield. 1, 2, 3. Wow, Andres gets us from Chila from Winfield.
Well, great result there. We're going to get you all of those results on the website, but look at this. This is the lead in Category 1, Pablo Popovic. He saved the best till last. He's pushed on. He's cleared Michael Nussen behind. Vujasin is pushing clear of Zanaska and Hoyos. It's all going to come down to the final few hundred meters of the climb. At the end of the month, at the end of the Sunday race for July in the finals, UAE Clan team take the victory with Pablo Popovic leading them through. Michael Nussen, second place at the moment. He's going to hit the line. It's a 1-2 for the Clan team. The battle behind, will it be Vujasin? Oh, I think he's going to have it. He's got the gap. It's Vujasin coming through.
It's Vujasin from Hoyas coming through for 4th place. Van Elst coming through for 5. X100 pushing on, but Nair and Van den Eckhout are there as well. Kaminsky and Zanaska. Wow, I cannot wait to see this result sheet in front of us.
Well, whilst I'm staring down at the results in both the individual and the team, we'll take a quick look across. So Andreas Schiller and then Winfield in the Category 2, 1, 2, 3. But look how close it was in the end after all that racing. Pablo Popovic and Michael Nussen with the gap at the front. They led the race home behind, though. It is stacked full of riders from the Belgian Waffle Squad with Vujasin in 4, the Pogacar Fan Club with Hoyos in 4, with Vujasin in 3. You got Mayer, Kaminsky, Zanaska, Van Elst, Van den Eekhout. Really interesting. Now, Emma, how are you looking? How's it looking on that team competition?
Well,
3 riders to count.
Subject to verification, I think the UAE Clan team have it by 26 seconds from the Belgian Waffles and 29 seconds from Italian Gelato. So it's looking like the Belgian Waffles take second place by 3 seconds from the Italian Gelato squad.
3 seconds separated second and third place to the team. Remember, all the results at the moment are live. They will become unofficial as the race ends, and then they will turn to official when they've been verified by the teams. All of our riders subject to that verification process. Don't forget, you can catch up with all of the racing, and we would love you to come and join us on the Sunday Race Club. Download the app, jump on board. Great time to come and join us on the Race Club. Join me, Matt Payne, and Emma Martin, who's across the studio from me here, to bring you the racing. And come and join us. We want to see you racing. Qualifier number 1 is next Sunday. Before that, we'd love to hear from you on social media. Where can we find you on social media, Emma?
Or you can find me at Biking Emma.
And you can find me at Matt Fixer Paint, and you'll find me also on the slopes of the downhill. I'm going to be across at the World Championships in Fort William. If you're heading up there, give us a shout, say hi. Unless I'm stuck with a set of cans on me and a microphone in front, because we're going to be bringing you the action. Emma's going to be up there for the indoor cycling, but we will be back in between, of course, with the Sunday Race Club. I wouldn't miss that for anything just about out there. So please, guys, make sure you jump onto the MyWhoosh website, jump on board. Let us be talking about you next Sunday Race Club. So from all the amazing team that makes it happen behind the scenes, from Emma, Martin, and from myself, Matt Payne, stay safe. We'll see you again soon.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.